In the dead of night, when the stars hid behind a cloak of ominous clouds, and the sea roared with a fury that seemed to echo the unspoken sorrows of lost souls, a lone fishing boat, an unassuming vessel that had long weathered storms and whispered secrets of bygone days, set sail into the uncertain darkness. This was not a journey of hope or triumph, but one destined to be etched into the annals of fate as a tragic reminder of life's fragile nature. I invite you, dear listener, to lean in close as I unravel the tale of that ill-fated voyage, a story of terror, loss, and an almost unimaginable twist of fate, where among 10 brave souls, only 2 tiny hearts would manage to beat against all odds. It began on a seemingly ordinary evening in a small coastal village, with a salty breeze carried promises of a bountiful catch, and the sound of seagulls filled the twilight air with a sense of calm routine. The boat, affectionately known to the locals as the Mariner's Dream, had been the pride of the village, a sturdy craft manned by a close-knit crew of fishermen, traders, and a few families seeking to make their living from the generous yet unpredictable sea. On this particular night, as laughter and chatter mingled with the gentle clatter of wooden planks and creaking ropes, 10 souls embarked on what they believed to be a routine journey. Little did they know that destiny had woven a far more sinister tapestry for them. Among the passengers were seasoned fishermen with weathered faces and eyes that had witnessed countless sunrises, families with children filled with innocent dreams, and a quiet couple who clung to each other as if their love alone could shield them from the tempests of life. There was an air of camaraderie, a shared understanding that the sea, with all its bounty and peril, was both a provider and a capricious master. But as the boat gently cut through the water under a silvered moon, an unsettling stillness began to descend, as though the night itself held its breath, waiting for the inevitable calamity to unfold. Without warning, the tranquil surface of the ocean was shattered by the first hints of a violent disturbance. A distant rumble, soft at first, grew steadily into a cacophony of roaring winds and crashing waves. The sky, once a canvas of tranquil midnight blue, now seethed with angry, swirling masses of dark clouds. The sailors exchanged anxious glances as the wind picked up speed, and the once friendly sea transformed into a churning maelstrom of raw power and malevolence. In the midst of this unfolding chaos, the captain, a grizzled man known simply as Malik, whose eyes held the wisdom of a lifetime spent at sea, rushed to the helm, his voice rising above the howl of the tempest. "All hands on deck," he bellowed, his command slicing through the din as every soul aboard scrambled to secure the sails, tie down loose cargo, and brace themselves against the onslaught of nature's fury. The boat, now caught in the clutches of a furious storm, began to lurch violently, tossing its passengers like rag dolls amid the relentless waves. It was a scene of raw terror, a battle between human frailty and the indifferent might of the ocean. Amid the frantic chaos, one could barely distinguish the desperate shouts from the roaring wind, the frantic scrambling of feet on wet decks, and the piercing cries of those who sensed that their fate had been sealed. The boat, once a symbol of livelihood and hope, was now a fragile vessel struggling to keep afloat in the midst of nature's wrath. The relentless rain turned to icy needles that pierced skin and spirit alike, and the darkness became an almost tangible presence, shrouding every moment in uncertainty and dread. In that maelstrom of destruction, as the sea rose higher and the winds howled like a chorus of lost souls, tragedy struck with the inevitability of fate. A colossal wave, a wall of water born of the storm's darkest heart, crashed down upon the Mariner's Dream with a force that seemed to defy the very laws of nature. The impact was catastrophic. The boat shuddered under the mighty blow, its timbers splintering and cracking as if protesting against the impossible power unleashed upon it. In an instant, the vessel, which had borne the hopes and dreams of its passengers, was torn asunder. Wood splintered, ropes snapped, and the comforting hum of a routine journey was replaced by a deafening roar that swallowed every cry for help. In the chaos that ensued, the passengers were thrown into a vortex of freezing, turbulent water. Bodies, dreams, and memories were scattered into the unforgiving abyss as the storm showed no mercy. Amid this overwhelming disaster, there were many moments of gut-wrenching loss. A husband clinging desperately to his wife as they were separated by the violent churn of the sea. An elderly man whose final gaze was fixed on a horizon he would never reach again, and countless others whose lives were snuffed out like fragile candles in a gusting wind. For some, the struggle was over before it truly began, as the relentless cold and merciless waves claimed them in their silent assault. Yet, in the heart of this overwhelming calamity, a spark of hope, however faint, was not entirely extinguished. Hidden in a small, almost forgotten corner of the doomed vessel, two young children huddled together, their tiny forms shivering in the icy water. Their names were Ayan and Zara. In a stroke of fate so bewildering it defied explanation, these two souls had managed to find refuge in a cramped, lower compartment of the boat, a space once used to store fishing gear and supplies. It was as though fate, in a rare moment of mercy, had spared them when all others had been lost. Clinging to each other with desperate determination, the children remained silent witnesses to the unfolding tragedy, a silent promise of life persisting in the face of unthinkable despair. The storm's fury did not relent immediately. For what seemed like an eternity, the raging tempest held Ayan and Zara captive in its icy embrace. The water around them was a swirling canvas of darkness and despair, punctuated only by the intermittent flashes of lightning that illuminated the horrifying spectacle of destruction. In those agonizing moments, the two children experienced a cocktail of terror and confusion, a bewildering mix of primal fear and the bewildering instinct to cling to life at all costs. Their small fingers, numb from the cold, dug into the splintered remains of a piece of driftwood, using it as an anchor against the overwhelming pull of the relentless sea. It was a battle not just for survival, but for the very right to continue a life that had suddenly become a fragile and precarious existence. As the storm gradually began to wane, giving way to a tentative calm that was as unsettling as it was welcome, the survivors, if one could call the scattered remnants of shattered dream survivors, found themselves adrift in a transformed world. The once mighty vessel lay in ruins, its splintered hull a mute testament to the violence of the storm. Amid the wreckage, only the two small figures of Ayan and Zara remained, their eyes reflecting a mixture of awe, horror, and an indescribable determination to persevere. The sea, now eerily calm and deceptively serene, seemed to murmur secrets of its own, a haunting lullaby that spoke of both loss and the enduring possibility of rebirth. In the dim light of dawn, as the first rays of a pale sun struggled to break through lingering clouds, the two children clung together on a piece of debris, their fragile forms silhouetted against a vast expanse of endless water. Each shuddering breath they took was a defiant act of survival, a silent vow to honor the lives that had been so brutally taken from them. The journey that lay ahead was as uncertain as it was daunting, an odyssey across a merciless sea that held both the promise of sanctuary and the threat of further peril. But in their youthful hearts, there burned a spark of hope, a belief that somewhere beyond the horizon lay a shore, a place where they might begin to rebuild what had been lost. For hours, the two children drifted through the vast ocean, their world reduced to the interplay of water, sky, and the ceaseless rhythm of the waves. They clung to remnants of the past, a faded scrap of cloth, a half-buried trinket, and in each of these small objects, they found a story, a whisper of a life that once was. Their minds, though clouded by the trauma of the night, began to conjure dreams of a future where the horrors of that storm might one day fade into distant memory. With every passing moment, as the initial shock of the tragedy slowly gave way to a cautious optimism, the children's resilience shone through like a beacon in the darkness, a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming loss, the human spirit can endure, adapt, and ultimately triumph. The vast, open sea, with its ever-changing moods and mysterious depths, became both a formidable adversary and an unlikely companion. At times, the water's surface sparkled with a deceptive calmness, offering the promise of salvation and the sight of a distant shore. At other moments, dark swirls of foam and shadow hinted at hidden dangers lurking just beneath the surface. It was a world of contrasts, of beauty and terror intermingled in a dance as old as time itself. And as Ayan and Zara navigated this uncertain realm, their young hearts began to learn the harsh lessons of survival. That hope is both a fragile gift and a powerful force, and that even in the midst of despair, life finds a way. In the quiet solitude of the open ocean, the children's thoughts wandered to the fragments of their shattered past. They recalled, in half-remembered flashes, the comforting voices of their parents, the warmth of a loving embrace, and a laughter that once filled their days with light. Those memories, though distant and hazy, served as a touchstone, a reminder that love, in all its complexity, was worth fighting for. And so, with every stroke of their tiny arms against the rolling waves, they propelled themselves forward, driven by an unspoken determination to honor the lives that had been so abruptly extinguished and to forge a future from the wreckage of their shattered world. As the hours turned into a seemingly endless day, the children's journey took on a surreal quality, a liminal space between the stark reality of their loss and the quiet, stubborn hope of survival. The ocean, vast and inscrutable, whispered secrets that only the wind could carry, a language of water and sky that spoke of cycles, rebirth, and the eternal interplay of creation and destruction. In the distance, a faint line on the horizon hinted at the possibility of land, a promise that stirred the hearts of Ayan and Zara with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. Could it be that, after all the sorrow and devastation, a new beginning awaited them? The question hung in the air, heavy with both possibility and fear, as the children prepared themselves for the final leg of their arduous journey. The approach to the distant shore was marked by a gradual transformation, a slow, almost imperceptible shift in the air and the scent of the sea. The water, which had been a relentless torrent of uncertainty, began to calm, and the oppressive weight of despair seemed to lift ever so slightly. With cautious optimism, Ayan and Zara propelled themselves toward the promise of solid ground, their small bodies moving with the determination of those who have nothing left to lose but everything to gain. The beach, when it finally came into view, was a rugged stretch of sand and rock, a place where the scars of nature's fury were etched into every grain, yet where the first signs of life and renewal were beginning to take hold. Stepping onto that cold, unforgiving shore, the children were overcome by a mixture of relief and sorrow. They had survived a night of unimaginable terror, witnessed the loss of so many lives, and emerged as the sole bearers of a memory too heavy for tender hearts. Yet, in that moment of arrival, as the early morning light painted the horizon with hues of gold and pale blue, there was a silent acknowledgement that their journey was far from over. The trials of the past could not be undone, nor could the haunting echoes of that fateful night be erased. But here, on this desolate beach, Ayan and Zara found the raw materials for a new beginning, a chance to rebuild from the fragments of their lost world and to honor the legacy of those who had been claimed by the merciless sea. In the days and weeks that followed, the coastal community, long haunted by legends of a storm that had once claimed many lives, slowly took notice of the two tiny figures wandering the beach like fragile apparitions of hope. Whispers of their survival spread like a gentle ripple through the village, a miraculous story of endurance and resilience in the face of overwhelming odds. Some saw the children as symbols of divine intervention, a reminder that even in the wake of utter tragedy, life can find a way to persist. Others regarded them with a quiet sorrow, aware that the innocence of youth had been forever marred by the horrors of that night. Yet, regardless of the varied opinions, one truth remained unchallenged. The story of Ayan and Zara was a testament to the indomitable power of hope, a quiet defiance against a world that had once seemed determined to snuff out even the smallest spark of life. Days turned into months as the children began to forge a new existence on the rugged coastline. They found refuge in a small, abandoned cottage nestled among windswept dunes and gnarled olive trees, a humble sanctuary where the echoes of the past gradually gave way to the promise of renewal. In that modest dwelling, Ayan and Zara learned the ways of survival, acquiring skills that belied their tender years. They scavenged for food along the rocky shoreline, gathered fresh water from dew-kissed leaves, and learned to read the subtle signs of the weather, a language of nature that would guide them through the uncertainties of their new life. Yet, even as they built a fragile routine in the quiet solitude of their newfound home, the mystery of that fateful voyage lingered like a persistent shadow. The two children, their minds still haunted by flashes of that terrible night, began to piece together fragments of a story that seemed too vast and complex to be confined to the memory of a single storm. They recalled, in vague whispers and half-forgotten dreams, the desperate shouts of their fellow passengers, the unyielding terror that had gripped every heart on board, and the inexplicable forces that had conspired to spare only them. Was it mere chance that had allowed them to survive? Or was there a deeper, almost supernatural design at work? A force that had dictated the destiny of that doomed voyage with an inscrutable logic that defied human comprehension? In the quiet moments of twilight, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky with streaks of violet and crimson, Ayan and Zara would sit together on the worn wooden steps of their cottage, their eyes fixed on the endless expanse of the sea. It was in these moments that the true weight of their loss and the mystery of their survival settled upon them like a shroud. They exchanged silent glances that spoke of questions too profound for childish language, a longing to understand why fate had chosen them to bear the burden of memory, and a desperate hope that somewhere amidst the ruins of that tragic night lay answers waiting to be discovered. Driven by an unquenchable desire to understand the truth of their past, the children began to explore the remnants of the coastal village, seeking out the stories of those who had once lived through the storm, and poring over faded records and whispered legends that had been passed down through generations. They met with elderly fishermen whose eyes held secrets of long-forgotten tempests, and with local storytellers who recalled, with both reverence and sorrow, the night when the sea had claimed its due. Each conversation, each fragment of recollection, added a new layer of complexity to the mystery of the doomed voyage. It was as if the tragedy had become a living myth, a tapestry woven with threads of sorrow, hope, and inexplicable wonder, a myth that refused to be easily unraveled by logic or reason. As the seasons changed and the once raw wounds of the past began to mend, Ayan and Zara found themselves caught in a delicate balance between remembering and moving on. Their days were filled with the routines of survival, with moments of quiet joy interspersed between the echoes of a night that had defined their very existence. Yet, beneath the surface of their newfound life lay an undercurrent of suspense, a constant, simmering tension that reminded them that the mysteries of that fateful voyage were far from resolved. Every time the wind howled just a bit too fiercely, or the waves crashed with a peculiar insistence, they could not help but wonder if the sea was trying to speak to them, if it held the key to the secrets of that night, and if it was time to confront the full truth of their destiny. In the deep, silent hours of a moonlit night, when the world around them was hushed and the only sound was the gentle lapping of water against the shore, Ayan and Zara made a pact, a promise to themselves and to each other that they would seek out the truth, no matter how painful or elusive it might be. They would comb through every scrap of evidence, interview every person who had once been touched by that tragic night, and piece together the shattered mosaic of events that had led to the miraculous survival of two small souls. It was a quest that filled their hearts with both dread and determination, a quest that promised to unravel secrets that had been buried deep beneath layers of sorrow and time. Thus began a new chapter in their journey, a journey not just of survival, but of discovery, reconciliation, and the unyielding search for meaning in a world that often seemed governed by forces beyond human understanding. As they ventured farther into the heart of the village, uncovering long-forgotten diaries, faded photographs, and cryptic messages etched on weathered walls, the mystery of the lost voyage gradually revealed itself in fragments. There were tales of strange lights on the horizon in the hours before the storm, of inexplicable calm moments that seemed to presage the impending chaos, and of a sense of foreboding that had haunted the crew on that fateful journey. Each piece of evidence, each whispered recollection, wove a tapestry of suspense and wonder that hinted at a deeper, almost mystical interplay between fate and free will. And so, dear listener, as you absorb this tale of tragedy and triumph, a narrative that stretches across the vast canvas of the sea and into the quiet corners of the human heart, remember that sometimes the most profound mysteries are not solved by logic or reason, but by the resilient, indomitable spirit of those who refuse to be defeated by circumstance. The story of Ayan and Zara is not merely a chronicle of loss, but a living testament to the power of hope, the beauty of perseverance, and the eternal quest for truth in a world where every wave, every gust of wind, and every silent moment carries with it the promise of renewal. In the endless ebb and flow of time, as the sea continues its ceaseless dance with the shore and the winds carry the echoes of a long-forgotten storm, the legacy of that tragic voyage remains, a haunting reminder that even in the midst of overwhelming darkness, a single spark of light can ignite the courage to seek out the answers that lie hidden beneath the surface of our shattered memories. And though the scars of that night will never fully fade, they serve as a poignant reminder that life, with all its unpredictable twists and turns, is a journey marked by both the agony of loss and the boundless potential for rebirth. So let this story be a beacon to all who have known despair, a call to rise from the depths of sorrow, to embrace the uncertainty of tomorrow, and to trust in the silent, enduring promise that even the most devastating storms eventually give way to the tender glow of a new dawn. For in the story of two small survivors, there lies an eternal truth, that even when fate seems to have dealt its harshest blow, the human spirit has the power to endure, to rebuild, and to find hope in the unlikeliest of places. And thus, as you carry this tale within your heart, may you remember that every ending is but the beginning of another journey, a journey where the lessons of the past become the stepping stones toward a future filled with the quiet, unyielding light of hope. The sea, in all its mystery and majesty, continues to whisper its secrets to those who dare to listen. And if you listen closely enough, you too may hear the call of the tide, a call to embrace life in all its uncertain beauty, and to trust that even the deepest wounds can one day give way to the gentle healing of time.